It's Friday, December 1st, 2023. Welcome to a new season of Backcountry Snowpack Summaries brought to you by North Shore Rescue. I'd like to begin this season opener by dedicating this episode to the memory of Wayne Flan. Wayne's contribution to the Avalanche community was huge, and he will be dearly missed. I can't really think of any better tribute to Wayne's legacy than to be here out in the mountain discussing snow and avalanches with all of you. With this said, we've been off to a pretty slow start this year. Lots of sunshine and not a whole lot of snow, but things are changing. And while there's not a lot of areas on the North Shore that are problematic yet for avalanches, there are some isolated spots. And with all the snow coming this weekend, I think it's worth having a little discussion about the snowpack, so stick around for that. So we're on the north aspect of 1,300 meters, and this part of the video was actually shot on Thursday, November 30th. I decided to go out a little bit early before the storm because it's still early season. I haven't really spent a whole lot of time in the mountains recently, and I was curious, whenever there's long dry periods, it's always good to go out before the next storm just to map things out a little bit. I was curious about the crust on the surface. I was also very curious about all the surface hoar that formed with all these clear, cold nights. And sort of traveling around, certainly we can see all of that. So there's a good crust on the surface. There's a little bit of rotten snow, and then the rest of it is all just basically solid ice. Now, of course, surface hoar on a crust doesn't sound all that great as far as the base of the snowpack. I'm not overly concerned about it. As we are moving into next week, it looks like Monday, Tuesday, we might actually get an atmospheric river with rising freezing level and a whole bunch of rain. And I suspect that this is probably the last we're going to hear about that surface hoar. That'll be the end of it for the North Shore anyways. As we move inland and maybe further north, where mountains are a little bit taller, if that atmospheric river brings snow at higher elevation, that will preserve the surface hoar, and we might actually hear about it for a slightly longer period of time. So we don't really have any concerns, and it's a pretty sad looking little profile. And make no mistake though, even though it's pretty shallow, this was a lot of hard digging to get there. So there's two themes for this weekend. The first theme is isolated hazard. Most of all the terrain on the North Shore is still well below threshold, meaning that there's just not enough snow to get that nice smooth surface that you would need to get small slab avalanches. However, there are isolated slopes where you can definitely link a few turns, and hopefully as the storms roll in this weekend, there's going to be more and more of that. So that said, however, I would say that any slope that looks appealing this weekend should be treated with quite a bit of caution because all that new snow is resting on a crust with fairly sizable surface hoar in a lot of areas. So we can expect that the bond is probably not going to be all that great. The second theme for the weekend is small avalanches with big consequences. So again, because the terrain is so limited and generally the slopes that are skiable are fairly small, we're really not expecting to see big avalanches this weekend. However, this is the time of the year where the terrain traps are at their nastiest. So a small pocket, a size 1, can actually take you through the cheese grater and a bunch of boulder, push you into open water or in a bunch of like really thick bushes. Remember that in order to bury you, you don't really need a slope that's much bigger than a tennis court. And if you add a terrain trap, especially like a gully or something like that, a much smaller slope can actually lead to a full burial. So limited terrain, the little bit of terrain that we do have available to ski, you definitely want to treat with a lot of caution and assess the bond of that new snow very carefully before you launch yourself. and really look downhill. Like if you pop a small pocket and you do go for a little ride, you know, what are the consequences of that? That's all I got for this week. Please go out and enjoy the snow, but stay safe this weekend, and we'll see you next week.